Welcome to ELT Live number 4, being streamed live on September 24th, 2014. Tonight's topic is how do students and teachers feel about going online with materials and assignments and student portfolios and all of that stuff, and we're especially excited to have the student perspective joining us from Ben's class. We'll quickly introduce the others, and then we'll turn it over to Ben. This is Jeff Lebo in Busan, Korea. I teach at Busan University of Foreign Studies, and am always making my students do stuff online, whether they want to or not. Also joined by Rita. Would you like to introduce yourself, Rita?
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Jeff. So many years working together, though a little bit apart. I live in Argentina, and I was telling Jeff that my job at the moment is training teachers, EFL teachers, in the integration of the internet into their classes, which is a hard job at the moment. But I should be looking at the bright side of things because I'm sorry about this. Sorry about that. Because at least I do feel that they are becoming aware of the importance of now going global, right, with their students.
Thank you for that, and thank you for joining us, Rita. And also on the other side of Busan, joined by Brian. Can you tell us who you are, Brian?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Got my hands in the camera now. Yeah, I work at Dongsa University, another, as Jeff said, a university on the other side of Busan. I'm using the internet with my students because I find it fun and interesting. My handwriting is terrible, so anything I can do from typing is better for me and my students. I've been getting them to blog so that they can have conversations outside of class in English. And yeah, that's what I'm doing, I guess.
All right. Well, Ben, if you can tell us what's going on there and what we're going to be doing tonight. Over to you.
Hello, Ben Stewart here from beautiful Aguascalientes, Mexico. We are here at the Universidad Autónoma de Aguascalientes, which is a public university here in the city with the same name. And I'm here with some students from our 7th semester Applied Linguistics class. And was actually, when I got with Jeff earlier, hoping that we could get my group together with a discussion on something regarding online learning and e-portfolios. But we're very happy to be here, and hopefully we'll have some questions and participation from my students. We'll see how that goes. They are encouraged, obviously, to ask questions at any point as our discussion unfolds. But we're all happy to be here.
All right. And where do you want to start? Where shall we dive in?
Well, I was posting a lot of questions, and I'm certain we won't be able to get to all of them. But I was thinking, in terms of e-portfolios, here at our university, our students are studying a BA in English language training, and we don't use e-portfolios as far as requiring them to complete them throughout the BA. But I've always thought that it would be important for them to use e-portfolios. Thinking in terms of teacher training or general English, what are your experiences currently with using e-portfolios, either with your students who are studying general English, or if you're teacher training, if you're using those as far as their pre-service development? What are your experiences overall currently with e-portfolios?
Here in Korea, I've done nothing with a formal e-portfolio. When I was teaching in the United States, the university was transitioning to a portfolio that was contained within, I believe it was Blackboard at that time, but it was not a public e-portfolio of any kind. So the formalized portfolio I have not dealt with. You know, I encourage students as we publish materials online to think about, thinking of it as a, your web presence is kind of your ever-changing e-portfolio, but I've done nothing formal with e-portfolios. Rita or Brian, have you done anything formal?
Not yet. I'm in the same boat as you are, Jeff. Because first of all, I think they should be working online and feeling confident enough to be able to formally use e-portfolios. And it's coming anyway. I'm sure it is. But first of all, they need to get confident and, you know, work a lot. I mean, open blogs, open Google sites, be aware of so many tools to be able to integrate into the different classes at different levels, and then be able to put all that into an e-portfolio. But first of all, if they are not conscious or aware enough of the importance and why they are going global together with their students, I think it's no point. They won't be feeling the need of using e-portfolios.
I guess I would like to know what you mean by portfolio. My students are blogging a few times during a semester, I think 6 times a semester, writing a set number of words on their topics of their choice. And I think that kind of fits my definition of a portfolio. It's a collection of their work online. But is there something more specific you mean, or?
Well, I guess what I was thinking, and this, yeah, the definition is going to be kind of broad in general, but I guess what I was thinking, some deliberate collection of online work, whatever online is, as far as how open it's going to be. It could certainly be a blog, it could be a wiki, but I guess what I was thinking in terms of a portfolio would be different online spaces that is either decided on the part of the student and or the educators who are working with the students in order for them to have this collection that is a continual work in progress for them for some future purpose, right? And so certainly if the students are only contributing to a blog and they want to, I guess, call that a portfolio, certainly that would fall under this kind of broad definition. But I think it could also be a lot of different other things if we look at students' complete online presence and what tools are being used at that particular time.
So you said that your university does not have any kind of required e-portfolio at this point. What have you done to say, let's do something like that?
Well, this is probably the first step right here, having this discussion as far as any formal intended, I guess, dialogue. But I think, I've always had my students do something online. So I haven't necessarily called it an e-portfolio because I guess we haven't really got to a point where I have talked with other educators in the BA and really started to follow the students' progress throughout their BA career here and look at their development in terms of all of the online work that they've done. But I think that's where I personally would like to see us go to, where the students' development is becoming more transparent and shared among all the courses that we offer here. So I mean, I think I haven't done anything formally, but I guess having this discussion will hopefully kind of give me some ideas about how others are doing it, some other considerations maybe that I haven't thought about, etc.
Benjamin, I'm sorry.
No, please go, Rita.
Have you got in mind any specific format to make it, for everybody the same, or is it part of your queries? I mean, are you just thinking of any kind of format that comes to the students' minds? I would say maybe you have a specific format to be followed by all of your students. Have you investigated on that?
What I typically do in the decision-making process is I try to look at the goals of the course and then try to choose the tools that are most appropriate for achieving those goals and that allow me and the students to have a more, again, to use the word transparent learning, so that I'm more accessible, I can get more feedback, and then they can also learn from themselves, seeing what the contributions are from their classmates, as well as the feedback that I give all the rest of the course. So I think one of the main things that I like is that I am able to give feedback, and all my students can see all the feedback to all of what they're doing. Now, in terms of a e-portfolio, we can have discussions about what to include in that portfolio. Is it the end product only, or is it some evidence showing the progress of the students, where perhaps even the feedback from teachers are included in that? I guess, that's another consideration when even deciding on what to include in the portfolio. So I guess I'm kind of mixing portfolios as thinking in terms of final products with just simple online spaces where I interact with the students. And there might be some overlap there, but there also may not. And that's, I think for me, the distinction with an e-portfolio would be, something that the students and or the teachers decide together in determining, again, what to include in that portfolio, either in product, or is it more of a reflective process where the students are showing where they have made progress and they're reflecting on their own work and so on.
I'd be very curious, like, have you asked the students, what do you guys want? I know that I teach mostly 3rd and 4th year students, and they're just really focused on getting jobs. And I try to frame it in a, what can we do to help you get a job? So I'm curious what the students there would like to have in terms of a portfolio, online presence, online job application. Have they shared any thoughts, or will they share any thoughts?
Yeah, I've been throughout so far our first 10 minutes of our discussion trying to persuade, encourage our students to participate. Would anyone like to participate? Feel free to come on up and share your ideas about how you feel about presenting your work online, whether it's an end product or showing your progress. Think of any of the courses, not just in this course, but courses that you've taken. How do you feel about sharing your work online? So if anyone wants to come on up, feel free to do that. Just to keep the conversation going.
Por favor, por favor.
We're all of a sudden shy. I mean, this group is anything, it's not shy. This is Minnie.
Hi.
Thank you.
At least for me, it's like helpful, because sharing the work that I do throughout the semester, it helps me because the teacher, like he says, he gives me feedback. But there are some of my classmates who don't like to use technology, or who think that some web pages are not really easy to use. So I think that's a problem for some of them. Well, for me, no. but for some of them, yeah. So that's like a disadvantage for the teacher, because you have some students who do like to work with internet, and some who don't like and don't know how to use those pages. But regarding the feedback and sharing, I think it is like sometimes it is necessary, and it is easier for the teacher and for the students, instead of come to my office and spend some time talking about this during the class or in the office. It's easier to do it online, so you can be working at home and ask your teacher if you have doubts. And so I think those are some advantages.
What are your favorite places online? Where do you want your presence to be? Like, do you have a blog or Facebook, or where are you most comfortable?
Facebook. No, right now we're working with it's called Schoology, which is something really similar to Facebook. in which the teacher can post something, and if we are writing in that group, we can see it, we can comment on that, and we also send our works or papers to him, and he can look at them and give us feedback. And if we want, we can share that document. Oh, that's in Google Drive. We can share that document with other students, with anyone we want, for them to see it. Oh.
I'm curious, when you post something on Facebook or anywhere online, like Schoology is kind of closed, so other people aren't going to see that. But when you post something on Facebook, do you ever think my future employer might see this? Are you aware that when you apply for a job, someone might Google you, and does that affect what you post online?
Yeah.
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 Well, but right now we're not doing that on Facebook. We're only doing it on Schoology.
For example, if you post a job, a dirty job, everybody's going to see that.
But you're never going to go out there, we're going to have mine for you.
Well, yeah, like
They're going to look at
one of my classmates is saying that, for example, on Facebook, she's never gonna add like an employee or something and to post because if you post something that is not like really friendly to some people, so it's not going to be like no.
Amazing.
No, it's not going to be nice if you have your boss or an employee on Facebook and you post something that might offend him or seem not good to him.
Wow.
Come on.
¿Nadie más quiere pasar? Anybody else want to comment? I mean, you can comment from where you are, just speak very loudly so they can hear.
Google Drive.
Lo que quieran. Lo que ustedes quieran. Okay, so why do you need? So we have another perspective. Natalia would like to talk about Google Drive.
Excellent.
I was telling to my partners, actually the teacher, that I honestly hate Google Drive. Because when I'm working on Google Drive, it's super slow, and I'm like trying to write, and then start ¿cómo se llama? And it's getting stuck all the time, and also because I think it's because it's saving all the time, and it saves, and it gets stuck. I'm writing, it starts to save, and I get stuck. So I cannot work really, really fast on Google Drive. And also because I don't like when I'm writing, maybe that the teacher is looking at his home, or maybe he's judging me because I'm doing a lot of grammar mistakes, all of them, and that's why I obviously don't like Google Drive. I'd rather work on Word and then copy paste to Google Drive. It's better and easier for me.
Oh, very interesting. How do you feel about all the stuff you're doing with Schoology or other spaces online?
Schoology is really, really easy to work with. I don't think that it's a problem with it. There are a lot of web pages that we have to work on, and my problem that I have is that I forgot to check them all the time. I always forget to do it. And there was homework on Schoology. Oh, really? I didn't know. So that's my problem with those kind of web pages, that I don't check them all the time. And that's just my problem. But now there's an amazing app for the cell phone of Schoology. So every time that the teacher posts, I get a notification and everything. So I don't have problem with that anymore. Okay.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.
Well, I just wanted to add that information that my partner said. That is, Schoology, I find it very useful because it's very organized and you can find the units you are working on, and you can comment and you can even like the post of the teacher or from other classmates. And I like it very much because you can have that application on your smartphone, and the students don't have the chance to say, I don't know, I didn't know about that homework, because you have the notification on your mobile phone, so you can really be updated with the course, and you don't get stuck. You are updating every day. When any post the teacher um, writes, or the home or the assignments in my classmates share, you receive a notification, and it is good because we are also working with another platform from here from the UA, and I don't receive the notifications only when I listen to my classmates. Oh, did you upload the assignment? I said, which assignment? I don't know what you're talking about. But
How much do you like being able to see your classmates' assignments?
could you repeat the question?
Well, I'm curious, and I don't know how it's set up, but traditionally, if you have an assignment, you do it, you hand it to the teacher. Schoology and all of this online stuff lets you, if you want, see each other's assignments and comment on that. Do you do that, and do you like that?
Like in Google Drive. How do you guys feel about sharing? That's how you share. Thank you for your opinion. How do the rest of you feel about sharing information on Google Drive? All of you have access to all of the work, and all of my feedback is being shared among all of you. How do you feel about that?
It helps us. It's helpful for us.
And Ben, I'm curious, how much can they see each other's work?
Pretty much everything. What I've done is I created a table in Schoology where they have links that take them to their shared document in Google Drive. So they're shared in two ways. Each student shares their page, not publicly, but I think it's called unlisted or something, that you can share the document with the link. And most of them have decided not to share it publicly, but it's open to anyone who has the link. And then they share, that's one part of the sharing process. The second part is that they share the document with me where I can edit it. So they share the link that all of the students have for accessing each other's Google Drive document. They can only view the document, but they share it with me so that I can also edit it. And that's where I add comments and suggestions directly to their document. But the comments that I leave are viewable all of their classmates.
I want to take a quick break and say hello to Maha, who has joined us from Egypt. Hello, Maha.
Hello.
Welcome.
I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay.
We're talking to Ben's students in Mexico, how they feel about all this crazy online stuff that Ben is making them do.
So,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if I explain myself as far as how I'm sharing Google Drive.
I think I got it, and what I'm curious about is like how students feel about seeing each other's work. Because I know that's been when I've done Google Drive and things like that. Before you just do your assignment, the teacher gives you feedback, and nobody else knows what you did and what mistakes you made. And now you can see what everybody's doing. And I've had some real great successes where people are commenting, and it creates lots of interesting discussion. I've had some situations where people don't want to share what they're doing.
Yeah, so how do you feel when I give you feedback, knowing that all of your classmates can see my feedback or your errors? How do you feel about that?
I didn't know about it.
Yeah. Because remember the table that we shared, like all of you have access to? Yeah. Do you have documents?
I read it. I don't know. I wanted to know everybody's work, and I read everybody's work, and also the feedback. I know that maybe it's like with teacher, I don't know how you say that, but yes, I just like reading everything.
Right, and that was the purpose. So different responses. Some say they didn't even know that they could access. Others are saying they've read all of the work of their classmates and they find it helpful. So kind of a wide range of responses. Anyone else want to add to how you feel now that you know?
Now that I know.
Well, me,
Yes.
in my case, I before using Google Drive, it was kind of complicated because you're creating your work, but you only know what you're doing, and you don't know what the rest of your classmates are doing. And instead, now that I'm using Google Drive, and I can check what my partners are doing, I can compare my work with the work. And maybe if I'm doing a thing that is completely different, I can ask my teacher, and I can ask my teacher and say, is it different to what the rest of my classmates are doing? You can be more like focus on doing it in a correct way, because if you cannot like compare your work, you don't know if you have something similar, or if you don't know if you're near the objective of the work. And an advantage that I like about Google Drive is that you don't have problems at the moment of saving your document, because when you write, it automatically is saving what you're writing. Instead, when I used to work on Word, there are a lot of problems because you have to like print your document and show it to the teacher. And with Google Drive, you don't have to print it a lot of times in order to show it to the teacher. You don't have to look to the teacher. Maybe it is difficult sometimes to be asking where the teacher is, because it's complicated to be going to the office. And now with Google Drive, the teacher can see your progress, or you can only send a message. And I really like that in Google Drive, you can be sure that your work is saved.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that it's automatically saved, and I love that it doesn't matter if I lose my USB drive. I usually lose like 2 USB drives a semester, and now it doesn't matter. Everything's there on Google Drive. I want to check in with the other people who are here in the conversation. Oh, hello, Maha. We see Maha. And Brian and Rita. Any questions that you'd like to share or comments? Maha, if you could maybe just introduce yourself and tell us where you are, what you teach, what kind of things you do online.
Okay, I'm originally a corporate trainer. I'm what they call soft skill training, leadership, communication, performance management, and so on. But I love the internet and the connectivity of it. So I've been playing with the different tools for training and learning. I love learning in general, so that's why I'm drawn to education. So I've been trying different MOOCs and so on, but also I volunteer to teach languages. I love languages, one of my hobbies. So I teach or I help learners of English in Second Life, and I do it online also for Arabic.
Are you still in the corporate world?
Not as a full-time. I'm my own boss now, so I do work with the corporate world, but as a consultant.
Were you ever in a situation where you needed to hire people? And if so, did you ever Google them?
I was, yes, I did actually. Yes, I've been in this situation before.
And I'm just curious, because this is something I'm really kind of talking with my students now, that employers Google, you know, if you have a stack of applications, yes. I would certainly be tempted to Google, like, see what's out there. And there are certainly, yes. I think, negative things that students can do, and some like really positive, like things that would catch people's attention. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on what would impress future employers or not.
I think showing their interests showing their achievements if they have a portfolio, however small or big it is, but something that shows me what they've been into, what they've been involved in. Something that personally I feel very strongly about is language. I don't like bad language, so if somebody is casually using profanities or being a bit not very careful about what they say and how they say it to people online, I tend to be put off by that because they are, after all, going to be colleagues to others in my organization. What else? Creativity. I like them to be playful. I mean, it's enjoyable and it's also encouraging because that means that they'll be open to learning new things on the job and trying different things on the job. So, not creativity meaning I'm not expecting them to invent something, but at least to be playful, to try new tools, to be experiment. Like to experiment. I think that's mostly it.
That was great, Maha. I'm going to play that in my class tomorrow because they're just starting to build their blogs, and I think it's something that the university generation of now is very used to just doing stuff online and posting on Facebook and look at this picture and you stupid blah blah blah. And I think when they become more aware that future employers are looking at what they're doing, it changes things.
Oh yes, if I may add something. If I may add something quickly, a friend, somebody that I know, actually because of what she had online, although it wasn't anything bad, it was about a company that she had and all the achievements and so on, but it did affect her the potential for her to get new support or new financing because they Googled her. So yeah, it is important, very.
Ben and Brian, you've got some chat stuff going on. Would we like to get that on air?
All right, so we heard from the students how they felt about seeing each other's work. I feel a similar caution, I guess, at seeing the students seeing how much I write to each student. So in my case, each student would have a Google blog, a blogspot. I would read their post for the week and go out of my way to make one correction and then comment on the content. And so I want to be careful not to make 10 corrections for one poor student where everyone can see me tearing apart their writing. And at the same time, I don't want to appear too involved with another student and not enough with the third student. So that's one thing I just feel that the students need to be careful, but professionally, I need to be a little careful with just how much I'm involved with one individual student publicly like that.
Brian, one question. How do your students feel about being corrected? Because this is something I don't really put into practice. I do think that for students to go public and write in their blogs, they should be quite, of course, prepared to do that, prepared to go online, but at the same time free to speak their mind and put it the way they want. And if their language is not good enough, I mean, provided the message goes through, to me, big grammar mistakes, if they are not changing the meaning of what they put up in the web, I don't really care too much about mistakes, because in Argentina, teachers are really very, very worried about grammar mistakes, and I try to, I wouldn't say overlook that, but give that less importance. You know, that sometimes students, because of that strain that it's put on their minds, they really don't want to speak or they don't want to write.
I understand. My students, it's very much the basic ESL, so they're learning, it's more beginning English, I would say, rather than persuasive essay writing. So that's one point that that's the whole point of the writing. That's one reason I keep it down. Waving my arms, you can't see. I keep it down to one correction, one grammar correction or the like per blog post.
And you're doing this on their actually blog, so you comment on their blog post with a
Right.
correction.
It also, as I say, what I try to do would be one correction plus they talked about going to the beach, and I would talk about swimming or something similar. So it's a conversation in my comment as well. So there'd be one correction, but also a conversation. I understand what you're saying, and I don't want to overload the corrections, but it's just part of the conversation that I think as a teacher I need to do something along those lines.
Ben, I'm just curious. It looks like you've got some serious conversation going on there.
It's actually kind of trying to twist their arm, trying to get their opinions before I comment. And then again, so no one else can comment. Yes, Alina.
I think it's good. Louder? Okay.
Oh, can we see you too?
Alina. Don't be shy.
Thank you.
Okay. I think it's good when the teacher corrects us as we type or as we share our work, because that's the purpose of it. And like, if we don't get corrected, how are we gonna know if we need to change something or if we're making mistakes? So, and like, in my opinion, that's what teachers are for, to help students, like for us to learn from them. So, I think it's good to be corrected. I mean, that's my opinion.
How about, don't run away yet, how about interaction? Like, how much when you post something do you get, not corrections, but comments and conversation from your professor or from your classmates? And if you get that, do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, because it's the same. I mean, it's feedback, and it's meant to be useful for, like, for me or for everyone to, like, improve our work. So, I mean, I think it's good.
And like, as a teacher, one of the challenges for me, like, Facebook is sort of this natural conversation place. So someone can post, I ate this for lunch today, and all of a sudden there's 30 comments, and it's a natural conversation place. But when I try to encourage students to have these conversations within the environment of our learning space, wherever that is, it happens much more slowly. Do you have any advice for me? How can we encourage fun, authentic student conversations?
I don't know, maybe talk about topics that are not, I don't know, maybe the issue here is that they know that if it's academic, they're being, I don't know, graded or something like that, so they're like shy about it or they get scared, and they know that it's not a natural thing, so maybe talk about other things, whatever topic that may not be so obviously academic, and they'll be more, I don't know, encouraged to talk or whatever, and then you can grade them without them knowing more. I don't know. I mean, or they, like, let them know, but I don't know. You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. I don't know either. I don't know. Like, I've experimented with like having sort of the academic space and sort of a play space. Like here, but it's hard. I mean, because as a teacher, you want, because the more authentic interaction is happening, it's better for everybody. But people are just always aware that this is a class space and I'm being observed and judged.
Exactly, I guess that's the problem. So just make it more natural, I guess.
All right, well, I'm going to keep you there. I have another question. How do you feel? So you're doing all this writing and interacting or whatever, but right now you are on a Hangout on Air that's being webcast globally with fingers full of viewers, but it's going to be posted online. How do you feel about this part of online presence? How do you feel about Don't run away! Don't run away!
I didn't know it was good. Well, I don't mind. So yeah, I'm already here. So.
You're a YouTube star. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Are you a YouTube star? If I could comment very briefly, Jeff, on the issue of feedback, because I think it's important as far as the amount of feedback and the type of feedback. And one thing I just want to add very quickly is that the information, the feedback that I give for my students is very much personalized in the sense that some students really want a lot of feedback, and they will send me emails saying, okay, check this, and I'll get, and in some cases, give more feedback. Some students will not ask for any feedback. And so I have certain milestones throughout the course where I go in and I check, but I'm not constantly checking, and they probably don't believe me, but I'm not standing, every night watching, looking at every document as they type to see what their errors are. So I have like 3 or 4 times throughout the semester where I check everybody's work. Other than that, it's up to the student. If they want me to check more often, I certainly will. Some choose not to. And so it's very much varied. So I don't try, like Brian, I understand Brian's approach, and that's, that's fine. I get that. Trying to be fair, and I try to be fair as well, but I just have found in the past, and I've been doing this a couple of years working on Google Drive, is that some students love feedback. I mean, every week, a couple of times a week, I'm going in and making giving comments, and they're making changes. So I, as a teacher, like that flexibility, and that they can choose how much feedback that they want. And we can certainly discuss the type of feedback. Whether or not you correct global errors that interfere with meaning or local errors that are more grammatical. But that's been my approach, so far working with Google Drive and giving feedback.
All right, well, we've got about 15 minutes left, or I suspect your students are going to soon say, hey, it's break time, isn't it? It's break time. So I want to make sure we get in anything else that we want to. Ben or anyone else, is there anything you'd like to address?
No, not really. I'm just thinking and reflecting personally. I would like to kind of pursue this a little bit more with my students here at the university. I'm still very curious about the possibility of implementing a more formal e-portfolio approach or plan, whatever you'd like to call it, that follows them throughout their time here at the university, thinking in terms of the purpose and what this will help them hopefully do when they graduate or when they try to find a
Would the focus be as an academic record or as a online job application or something like that?
Well, I'm thinking more of their online presence in a general sense. Like, what type of, and how can you aggregate that information? We haven't talked about it, whether that would be in a separate platform like Maha, or if it would just simply be, I use About Me, which I think is a very good website that could be used for a portfolio. But any tool or set of tools that could be used to aggregate their online presence in a presentable form that would basically complement their resume and their grades or their academic record that they have. So I'm looking at this kind of as a separate but complementary component of their own professional development.
I'm curious about the students. If Maha or another future employer Googles you, what do you want them to see? What do you want them to see at the top of the list?
So because anytime somebody Googles, they can Google your name, right?
Yeah.
All of you are Googleable, you're searchable. So what would you like to see? Because whenever Google appears, there's a ranking. So what would you like for the Google search, using your name at the top, what would you like to appear at the very top in your case?
Papers that I've done. Academic
work, papers that you've done? Anybody else? Like that you've done in school or something?
Maybe academic stuff, because if they check out my Facebook, it's not going to be that professional. It's going to be like, I don't have any professional thing in my Facebook.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think Rita has to leave us. I just want to check if you have any final thoughts to share, Rita.
Well, yes, it's been such a nice possibility of being able to listen to students. I'm from Argentina, guys. Hola a todos desde Rosario. Un gusto encontrarlos. That was in Spanish because I guess that most of them are native speakers of Spanish. And I was just paying attention to what you were saying and how you felt about correction. And yes, I was thinking about that. Some students, or most students, need to be corrected, and they want to know where they are making mistakes. I know about that. But at the same time, this is a twofold result, let's say, because most of you feel bad at making mistakes, don't you? Don't you feel like too self-conscious when speaking because you're making mistakes? And so that maybe puts you off, and sometimes you don't feel like speaking because maybe you're making mistakes, or you don't feel like writing. Is that your case?
¿Quieres hablar? You want to comentar? ¿Cómo sientes? How do you feel whenever I correct? Anybody corrects? When a teacher corrects you, do you feel bad or you feel demotivated?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
It depends how they correct you. Maybe they correct you in a polite way, I don't mind. But when they are like, when they put me some stuff, like, and I don't know how to correct it, that's when I get frustrated because they go, oh, check this or correct this, and I don't know how to correct it. And for me, it's clear that to me, oh, you did this wrong. That's all.
Also, when you get a work done, and you feel like, oh, I'm almost finished, and then when teacher says no, also your work or your progress is wrong, and I feel like, oh, yeah.
Okay. I've heard. Sorry, Jeff.
No, I was. Please continue.
Yeah, I know how you feel about being corrected, but sometimes there are mistakes which you don't intend to make. For example, the lack of the final S in third person singular. Sometimes you don't mean to miss, to omit the S, but it comes out like that. And so that kind of mistake, I mean, a teacher is not supposed to be correcting or just maybe interfering with your discourse when you speak, because teachers should know that it's a different kind of mistake, different from the one that you make because maybe you don't know the word, how to say a word. In that case, the teacher may come up and help you. But it depends on the mistake as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious on Maha's perspective about this. When you were looking at prospective employees and you saw language errors, what did you think?
To be honest, it depends on what is the requirements of the job, of course. Because if I'm employing someone who's going to be writing extensively or writing a lot of things for the organization, then perhaps I'd be very particular about their language or whether they are making mistakes or not. If somebody is going to be my translator, that's I mean, if they're making a lot of grammatical or vocabulary mistakes, that's a disaster. But if someone is going to be working, I mean, for example, let's take in a banking situation, as a teller or as a computer software programmer and so on, as long as they're able to communicate their ideas clearly, I don't really focus a lot about on grammatical mistakes and so on.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Maha. Exactly that. Because in general, our students really need to communicate in English. They might have, in mind this possibility of getting a job in English, but in Argentina, I mean, jobs sometimes need a little bit of English. I mean, employers look for people who can communicate safely, but that's it. So it depends on the kind of job. Yeah, that's right.
I just have to say that also, unfortunately, sometimes it depends on the organization, because some organizations have written tests. I know, for example, someone who recently went for a job interview, and this person had been working very, 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 very hard on his English, spending all his waking hours in Second Life or outside Second Life or online, whatever, and learning. But when he went to that interview, he had to take a written test, and that's when they unfortunately failed him. So I don't agree that that was fair, but it sometimes happened.
So sorry, but I need to leave now. So it's been great listening to you all. Thank you very much for this wonderful exchange of ideas. It's really worth being member of a group and listening to different ways of thinking and different realities in different countries. So I think we should be meeting more often, right, Jeff?
Yes, I believe Ben's class is going to be joining us every week now.
Okay, so let me know and join you again. So again, thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure to be together. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Adios. Adios. Adios.
Adios.
Adios.
I'm curious if there. So we're coming up to the end of the hour, so we should wrap up soon. But I'm curious, any thoughts students have about this experience? Have they hung out before? How do they feel about, having these kinds of discussions with people all over the world? Any thoughts?
It's cool, but it's kind of intimidating for me. Because I am trying to get the correct grammar structure of every single word that I say. So that's kind of hard for me. But I think that it's really awesome.
You don't seem intimidated, and you spoke perfectly.
Thank you.
A plus plus.
We're still a little shy, but I think I think. If I could ask, how many of this for you is this the first time that you participated in Hangouts on air?
Everybody.
Everybody. So this is most of them. I think maybe with the exception of one student, this might be the first time. In fact, it is the first time I've participated in a Hangouts on air.
Well, I hope it's not your last. I had invited some of my students to attend, but I assume it's 10 p.m. here, or almost 11 p.m., so I assume they're home studying really hard, so they could not make it. But I hope we could connect another time, because I think it'd be really, I would love to have more, as a teacher, it's just so useful to hear students' perspectives. And I think it's especially interesting if we can step out of the conversation more, and you guys can just sit around and talk. Man, my professor makes me do this. Yeah, mine too. Why does he? And the more authentic information we can get from you, the better. We'll just sort of sit quietly and observe.
Record.
Well, definitely we appreciate the time that you've taken, Jeff and Brian and Maha. And it's always a pleasure to connect with others. I know personally myself, it's always good to not only view the recordings, but better yet, to participate in the live discussion. So I thank all of you for participating in this Hangout today.
Well, thank you all very much. Any final comments from Brian or Maha?
I think I'm good. It's getting to be my bedtime, too.
I just thank you very much for the invitation. It was, wonderful to be able to join you. And to the learners, I just want to say one thing, that even very experienced trainers and teachers can get a bit intimidated online. I mean, when they know that the whole world is going to see this, and also it's going to be on record. But well, we're just having a chat to get to know each other and what we need and how we like things to be done. So thank you again for having me.
And Maha, I'm so glad you joined in. Thank you so much, and Brian.
Thank you.
That's very true. As we were talking about student portfolios, but really this is part of my teacher portfolio. And as teachers, as we put ourselves out there, we deal with a lot of the same issues of being judged and perhaps corrected in a professional way. So maybe that's a topic for another week or another show. But thank you very much, Ben, and all of your students. We'll see you all next week and every week after that, I guess. But good luck in your studies. Thanks so much, and look forward to continuing sometime.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Adios.
Adios.